finally getting back to me, my art. All I want to do is art. And the other thing is that I love stories. So like to me, art is in everything. Your art is your voice, your speaking, your connection. You can feel everyone's energy. That's your art. It's the art of living to me. So art and hustle to me is the art of living and art of it and everything.
I hope that you cut that piece right there and make it your intro and your outro, because that was dope.
Welcome to the Art and Hustle Gallery of Conversations. Welcome back here, Galina Singer. I'm so happy for you to join us again. And I'm excited for your 100 days. I've listened to a couple of them. And the one that I just listened to was the last two. 8 was a huge one with fatherhood and fathers and the impact of that. And 7 was our relationship and with ourselves and everybody else. And the last one, father, really hits home for me, because I had a very harsh, militant father, and a lot of the things that you were saying, I was just taking my phone and taking note. I'm all of this is all of this I can completely feel and resonate. And that's my journey too, is to fix that relationship with the masculine too.
Yeah. Well, the relationship with the masculine is as our relationship with the feminine. I mean, it's all distorted, right?
Yeah.
And just like men are suffering from their unhealthy and skewed and distorted relationship with the feminine, and even masculine, what's healthy masculine, right? We've lost that. In the same way, we are also, I feel women particularly, we've been kind of pushed to an extreme, almost a caricature of the feminine, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like the damsel in distress type of archetype, that kind of thing, to be saved, incapable on our own. And all of it is our unhealthy relationship with the feminine and masculine energies within us. But of course, where it all comes from, besides being reinforced by culture at large, is it all starts with what we saw at home. The people who are raising us, they brought their distortions into their relationships with us. And that's what we've absorbed. And I think for women, we keep on recreating what we saw at childhood with our grown relationships. But so many of us don't understand that we are the carriers of the setup. We keep, most relationship advice, which always just, really puzzles me, because we're still very much focused on what to do with this other person, how to communicate our needs, etc., etc. And although, I'm not against communicating our needs, I think ultimately in my 30-something-year-old relationship, what has saved my relationship with what love feels like and what love means in my relationship is my own relationship with myself.
Yes.
He didn't change per se. I think he only started really evolving when I stopped being that critical parent to him.
Yeah.
When I became just a person just like him, his equal, and stopped criticizing him, that's when he started shifting to sort of be he started responding to me rather than just shutting me down and shutting me out. And of course, the more I dig, the more I realize that, first of all, I've witnessed my mom criticize my father for as long as I remember. He could do no right, and so it's familiar to criticize and sort of wanting other people to be different. And then that all comes from our own inner dialogue, so to sort of come back to my relationship with my father, it was very much, withdrawal of love when I wasn't the way he wanted me to be. And, we can suffer from that for the rest of our lives, or we can start saying, well, how can I come in contact with my own inner man? And that's the hardest thing, because when we have only this kind of model, like you say that your father was militant, he was probably intolerant, he was strict, possibly, sort of like in military.
Very, like all the things you said about your father, like that's him too. And he was like violent, he was like physically and mentally manipulative and like controlling and forcing, and like all of the things you said, forcing extreme, and then it translated to how I treated myself and others too, like criticizing and forcing and telling people like, I don't understand why you can't do it, just do it, get it done. You're right. Like you're so used to like putting that forcing discipline on yourself that you just I can't understand why others can't just get the shit done.
Sure, because we become intolerant too, right? We just repeat what was done to us. But what interests me even more is that when that's the only model of the masculine we have, how do we build a healthier relationship with the masculine?
Exactly. And then like you have the juxtaposition and dichotomy of like my mother was more the quiet, she would hold all the stress, so she couldn't really fight him, she would just hold it all in, and then all of it would build up in her, and she would, she's got overweight, got sick, so she couldn't fight him because he was such a dominant person. So now I have like, then I feel like I reflected that, and I unconsciously did that in my marriage. And then when she died is when I woke up and was like, oh, I can't repeat this cycle of this generational like trauma that we're doing here. I'm repeating the same things that I learned as a child. And because you just unconsciously do all of that, until I woke up and I was like, oh, I can't do that. So like I'm in that state where like I'm going to that extreme of like kind of resisting everything now, where I'm like going to the opposite and like I don't want it. Like I'm trying to like repair myself. So I'm in this extreme of, okay, I'm just not going to do anything. I lost my job. So, okay, I need to do more things for myself. So like I'm in that like rehabilitation.
Yeah. And I mean, this is what's interesting also. And if you don't mind, we can just even go there. The fact of losing your job, that's like the paternal figure that's paying you salary, your livelihood. Right?
And I'm a workaholic. If you come from that kind of dichotomy, like you're a workaholic and this is your structure, this is your safety net.
Yeah. So then again, betrayed by the masculine, right? In a way, again,
over America,
that authority that we put so much trust in once again. Because what happens is, from the unfinished development as a child, because of trauma and all these other things, we haven't had a chance to become the mature adult, the mature and independent adult, right? We remain sort of inner children, and we navigate life from that point of, if I work really, really hard for my boss, he'll just keep on saving me and paying me. We're sort of creating that kind of domestic
abuse
dynamic and abuse, where it's like, I'm gonna try to prove myself, I'm gonna work really, really hard for that security, which is why a lot of what I teach in my program, Safe to Be Me, we talk about safety, security, trust, surrender. It cannot really be given from outside.
No, not at all. Not at all. And that's what I realized. Like I stayed in my safety net for 23 years with this company. Well, no, not this company. I stayed in fashion for 23 years, and I stayed in this company for almost 14 years. And because, I thought like, well, I have a home, I have a house, I have a mortgage, I have kids, like I have to stay with this job. And hopefully when they no longer need me, they can give me a severance, and I'll be okay. There's that safety net. I'm like, I'm staying. And then they went bankrupt and I never got my safety nets. And I was like, really? Like I stayed and dedicated my life to you, and you just discarding some people were there for 20 years and then they got let go after the bankruptcy. So they got nothing. Like I got a small snippet right before they went bankrupt. So it's that masculine of like, wow, I dedicated my life to you and this company and this American dream, you know, because my parents are immigrants, they like force that American dream on you.
Sure, sure.
And it's so like now I'm like, oh wow, so like I'm gonna have to reevaluate everything and figure out where I belong in this world again. Like, because I'm divorced, have 2 kids, single mother, lost my job during COVID. Like, so I eventually figured out like, okay, well, what am I gonna do? Like, oh, so my old job eventually, you know, I don't know if I told you, but old job eventually tried to get me back after they let me go for a little while. They tried to give me my job back, but they kind of added a little salt to the wound by offering it back, but with less pay. So I was like, wow, so you want me back, but you want to give me less pay? So I'm like, that's a complete insult. Like, I can't believe you would do that. And thank God I had started Airbnb business a month before this happened. So the same week I opened my business for Airbnb, they offered my job back. So I had that crossroad moment where it was like, do I choose myself or do I go back to safety? And I was so stuck on safety for such a long period of my life because I'm 46. So like for 45 years, I think I was stuck on safety. And I jumped and chose me.
That's big. And I mean, and once again, it's not even choice between safety and me, because in a way, safety is no longer the exterior authority, because you know, and also like we can even go as far as say it's not even their fault in that they're just responding to economic cycles, whatever. So it's not even so much safety in exterior authority or me, it's safety is me. Choosing me is safety ultimately, because when you rely on your own resources and your own capacities, well, you're not going to betray yourself anymore, you know?
Like you have to choose yourself and realize that you are your own safety, you are your own trust, and all the things that you are constantly seeking externally, those are all within you, and you'll be okay by just going inward. And that's my journey. That's why you came into my Instagram feed. And this is my journey where I'm like going back to myself and kind of jumping into podcasting because I wanted to build a community of artists and art of living. And so this is beautiful. So this is the journey back to myself.
Yeah. And I think this is what is happening kind of in the world at large today, right? All the structures that our parents were relying on, all those generations, they are not really as solid as they seemed then, you know? Several generations ago, you could theoretically work 40, 50 years for the same company, move up, you know, get like some kind of a package pension plan or whatever. It really doesn't work for us anymore because, you know, I mean, we've seen so many, even in my lifetime, we've seen so many economic crises already, and it's only the beginning, you know, because I think it's just happening more and more frequently now. And so we really can no longer live in that, you know, I'll sacrifice myself to live, you know, to be able to live. And be a little bit more self-reliant, which I think is also causing a lot of growth, because also as an entrepreneur for the first time in my life, as a coach, you know, businesswoman, I'm facing all kinds of weak spots and, you know, kind of unexpected wounds around money, around security, obviously, and just, you know, what it means to be safe. Asking for money, you know, how to value my time, because all of us, you know, we come from this place of disempowerment. So to value your time, to value your expertise, it was a whole big deal.
That's huge, because just like me as an artist, I never fully was able to put the full value of my time in my artistry. And so that's like a thing that I'm working on to figure out. I'm like, really, like I'm 46, like I should be able to put the price of how much I've experienced and how much of my expertise into the art instead of just giving it away free, you know?
But here, that's another thing about art, also coming from patriarchal society where art and sort of artistic and creative expression is not really considered serious.
Yeah, not at all.
It's become like hyper, expensive. Yeah. So that's another thing. So all of us, writer or artist,
like anything in the creative, because like they can't see it. They're just like, well, you should be a doctor, a lawyer, something that will guarantee you a large salary and prestige. Well, artists, it's like, well, it's a hit or miss, and you're going to be a starving artist.
But I think only because that's been the kind of box in which we've grown. Because is that really is that really the truth, that you will be a starving artist? Do you know what I mean? We bought into that, and that's why we avoid these careers, because we've bought into that belief that you're going to be a starving artist.
Yeah.
But more and more with NFTs and hopefully wherever it's going to take us in the future, will hopefully it'll break us out of that sort of box of, if you're an artist, you're a starving one.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was always the thing that was in the back of my head, where I was like, well, I have to prove them wrong, or I have to make sure I'm a successful artist, and let me choose the career that has like the most prestige that my family feels like, and will guarantee me a safe like 9-to-5 salary. So I always had like a 9-to-5, and then I would have like 3 or 4 side business hustles on the side and figure out how else to make extra money. Because it was always like, I needed one, but then I needed plan A, B, and C.
To find a semblance of security, right? Once again, because we're so in that constant fear and anticipation of something going wrong, because once again, that's the world in which we were raised, like fear, instability, insecurity. I'm working on a lot these days on that sense of, the beliefs that, we always focus on like the worst case scenario. Whereas since the future is always undecided, we could theoretically also focus on the best case scenario, right? 50-50.
Yeah, but it is totally, it's a total 50-50. Like, why not think of, what if it's like beautiful, and
what if it does work,
What if it's paradise? Finally getting back to me, my art. All I want to do is art. And the other thing is that I love stories. So like, to me, art is in everything. Your art is your voice, your speaking, your connection. You can feel everyone's energy. That's your art. It's the art of living to me. So art and hustle to me is the art of living, and art of it and everything.
I hope that you cut that piece right there and make it your intro and your outro, because that was dope.